exactly 7 p.m. Okay, due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals, the council chambers of Town Hall will not be open to the public to attend council meetings until notice. Members of the public who have an interest in a matter listed on the agenda may up until 10 a.m. on the day of the scheduled council meeting email orangeville.ca indicating your request to speak to a matter listed on the agenda. A phone number and conference ID code will be provided to you so that you may join the virtual meeting and provide your comments to council. Members of the public wishing to raise a question during the public question period of the council meeting may begin at 7 p.m. on the evening of the council meeting by calling 1-289-801-5774 and enter conference ID 592-805-740#. Correspondence and emails submitted will be considered as public information and entered into the public record. If you require access to information in an alternate format, please contact the Clerk's Division by phone at 519-941-0440 extension 2256 or via email at clerksdepartment@orangeville.ca. May I have a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting? Councillor Peters, seconded by Councillor Andrews. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Seeing none, Dan, if we could cue up the national anthem, please.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, David Nairn of Peter Orangeville. That was a plucky performance. Okay, announcements by the, acknowledgement, my fault. We'd like to acknowledge the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa of the Three Fires Confederacy. This meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live. It may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. So tonight, we have a public meeting, and I'm turning it over right now to our Deputy Mayor, Andy McIntosh. Deputy Mayor, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will just outline the procedure that we're going to follow tonight. Anyone who wishes to speak to this matter to call 1-289-801-5774 and enter conference ID number 592-805-740#. Callers would be invited to provide their questions or comments following the conclusion of the meeting presentation. Anyone who wants to be notified of further consideration of this topic to submit their name, phone number, mailing address, and email address to clerksdepartment@orangeville.ca or call 519-941-0440, extension 2256. And we'll start off tonight with a presentation by Carrie Cunningham, Bylaw and Property Standards Officer.
Good evening, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor McIntosh, members of council, and members of the public. Tonight's presentation outlines staff's recommendations for a proposed 3-year hen registration trial program in the town of Orangeville. You just bear with me and I'll pull the presentation up on my screen here. When drafting the proposed regulations, staff of the bylaw division conducted a review of best practices in various municipalities that permit the keeping of hens. Staff also consulted with the town's planning and infrastructure services divisions, Sustainable Management, and Wellington Dufferin Guelph Public Health. Comments provided were incorporated into the draft bylaw. In November 2019, Council directed staff to investigate the potential for residents to keep backyard hens. In June 2020, Council received staff's report on a proposed hen registration trial program. The report included the draft bylaw and a map indicating the proposed properties that would be permitted to keep hens. Feedback on the proposed trial program is being solicited through tonight's public meeting and an online survey. Staff reviewed the best practices of Brampton, Guelph, Kitchener, Newmarket, and Orillia. In summary, these municipalities limit the number of hens in the range of 2 to 10, require registration and inspections with fees ranging from $50 to $100. Roosters are prohibited in all of these municipalities. Owners of hens are required to reside at the property. Regulations in relation to size of hen coops typically mirror regulations for accessory buildings on a residential lot in order to comply with the municipality zoning bylaw. 2 of the municipalities require neighbor authorization. The majority of municipalities reviewed do not specify minimum lot area criteria to be eligible for backyard hens. Rather, eligibility is based on dwelling types in a residential zone, and hens are permitted on properties that contain either a single-family dwelling or a semi-detached dwelling. The majority restrict hens to the rear side yard. Setbacks from property lines vary in these municipalities from 1.2 meters to 3 meters. Setbacks from schools, dwellings, stores, churches vary from municipality and range from 3 meters to 15 meters. This map indicates the proposed properties that would be permitted to keep hens. Properties containing single-family dwellings would be permitted to keep hens and are indicated in yellow. Properties containing semi-detached dwellings would also be permitted to keep hens and are indicated in blue. These properties, however, would be excluded from the program should they be located in either a wellhead protection area with a vulnerability score of 10 or within 15 meters of a school or a church. Residents can determine if their property is in a source water protection vulnerable area by visiting the town's website and entering their address. The proposed hen registration trial program will be available for a period of 3 years and would permit the keeping of 2 hens per property. A maximum of 30 permits would be issued during the trial period. The trial program would end December 31st, 2023. Applicants would be required to register in the program and renew annually. The fee for registration and annual renewal would be $110. A site inspection would be conducted by the bylaw division. Applicants must reside on the property where the hens will be kept. If the applicant is not the property owner, they must obtain authorization from the owner of the property in order to keep any hens. Hen coops would be permitted in the rear yard only. 1 hen coop would be permitted per residential lot. Hen coops shall be kept 3 meters from the lot line and 5 meters from any catch basin. Hen coops shall be constructed to a maximum size of 9 square meters and a maximum height of 2.1 meters. Hen coops must provide a minimum floor area of 0.37 square meters for each hen and a minimum outdoor enclosure area of 0.92 square meters for each hen. Hen coops shall be constructed so that they prevent entry of rodents and predators, have lockable rooms and doors, have flooring resistant to moisture and mold, and are lined with shaving, straw, or other appropriate materials to absorb manure and facilitate cleaning. The hen coops would provide a perch area to accommodate all hens and provide a nest box and an accessible dust bath area. Hen coops would be maintained so as to be kept clean, in a clean condition at all times. Feces removed daily and deposited in a secured waste receptacle. Waste receptacles stored in the rear yard at least 3 meters from any lot line and emptied regularly. Hen Hens shall be kept in a fully enclosed hen coop at all times, and the roof and door of the hen coop is to be locked between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. Hens shall be fed in a manner that will minimize the attraction of rodents and other animals. Feed is to be kept in rodent-proof containers, which are secured at all times, also to prevent entry of rodents and other animals. The sale of eggs, manure, meat, or other products associated with the keeping of hens would be prohibited. Home slaughter would be prohibited, and roosters would be prohibited. Deceased hens shall be disposed of at a livestock facility through a veterinarian or facility approved by the applicable ministry. On September 10th, the town provided a survey on its website to obtain feedback and comments from the public in relation to the proposed hen registration trial program. The survey will be available for completion until midnight tonight. At last check, approximately 150 members of the public have responded. Next steps, staff will review the feedback received from this public meeting and the online survey. A report to council will be prepared for the October 19th council meeting, summarizing staff's recommendations on proposed regulations as a result of the feedback received, and then that would be for council consideration. We would be pleased to answer any questions or comments from the public or members of council that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. We now have we will get to questions later. We now have a presentation, delegate, Ms. Tricia Herbert. Is she available?
Deputy Mayor McIntosh, I can advise that she is not on the line as of yet.
Okay. We do have some correspondence from Mr. Max Waters. I'll go ahead and read that now. Mayor Brown, members of council, fellow citizens, good evening. Regarding the hen trial program and bylaw amendment, which Orangeville staff have carefully crafted, I applaud the effort by all to ensure a fair shake at the egg. I believe that the pilot covers all of the bases needed to assess the best practices required from our town and residents to see backyard hen keeping becoming a successful long-term initiative for food security and social well-being. The concerns I perceived from fellow citizens were the keeping of roosters and the slaughtering of hens, which the pilot program and bylaw prohibit. As outlined in the bylaw, cooperation and cleanliness requirements define the standard of animal welfare placed on those residents interested in participating in the trial. Further, for those residents interested in exploring keeping hens, a 3-year pilot term to keep 2 hens per household on lots outside the wellhead protection area is a welcome and fair approach. This pilot allows neighbors and residents to keenly observe that hens can happily live inside our town limits. I know many people in Orangeville who would like to see lawful hen keeping to fruition, and I am thankful. I want to acknowledge the fine work by staff on the strong outline of the pilot program. I am excited to have the council ratify the proposed amendment to the hen bylaw so that residents such as myself can legally engage in a shortened, meaningful food system. Keeping backyard hens is an invaluable opportunity for our children to connect to their food sources and learn that reducing the miles we put on our plate, probably that should be meals, we put on our plate dramatically impacts the world. Kind regards, Max Waters. Is Tricia Herbert available?
Deputy Mayor McIntosh, no, she is not.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Deputy Mayor McIntosh, we can advise that we have no one on the line.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's through you to Ms. Cunningham. Thank you for your presentation. The talk about having it 3 meters from the lot line. So my math is that's approximately 10 feet. So these hen houses will essentially be held in the middle of someone's yard, correct?
That would be correct. Most residential lots.
I guess just as my thought, like it seems odd that you would do that. Like if you're looking at someone's backyard and you have a structure in the middle, a lot of the lots now are 36 feet, you know, less than 40 anyway. It seems strange to me that you would position that in the yard, in my mind. And then I guess the other angle, Deputy Mayor, if I may.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is the foul odor from the animals. It seems to me whenever we've done this, and it's pigeons and other issues that we've had in town, there's an odor that goes with it. And in my understanding, chicken corrals are normally kept away from a building for the very reason that they smell. So, you know, I think about a smaller lot with a structure in the middle of the yard. My sense is we're going to have bylaw going by saying, please clean your coops. Has town staff thought about that? Is there anything that other municipalities do to get over that? Has that been an issue, that sort of thing?
From the municipalities that we have researched, typically the setbacks are 1.2 meters to 3 meters back from the property line, and we did choose 3 meters, trying to err on the side of, you know, a caution that the hen coop would be kept as far from, you know, a neighboring property line as possible to try to eliminate some of the complaints that might, you know, come about because of the smell or noise from a hen coop.
Okay, Councillor Andrews and then Mayor Brown. Go ahead, Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor McIntosh and Ms. Cunningham. Thank you very much for your presentation as well, and the detailed information that was provided. Certainly has provided some education for those of us that have not necessarily had any connection to this practice, and encouraged by what I've had an opportunity to read and some research that's been conducted as well. 2 questions, one of which is through the research that was conducted with the different municipalities, did they share any examples of wildlife issues? And the reason I bring this up, for those of us that live in parts of our community, we know that we've had peripherally to Orangeville, we've had some casual encounters with coyotes. We've had that documented, and not to say that that is going to end up increasing, you know, the visitation, but again, we have many green space areas where we know that coyotes have been coming a little closer to an urban population. So again, just curious about the issue of any examples and how those communities may have responded to that, and I'll have my second question in a second.
Sure. Sure. So with the regulations set out in the bylaw, what we were trying to do is by adding in the regulation for the feed to be kept in rodent-proof containers to try to eliminate the traction of animals if the feed containers were outside, as well feeding the hens in a manner that would you know, prevent the attraction. So keeping the area clean so that the feed isn't you know, left outside on the ground, which would attract rodents. So those are the types of regulations that we're adding into the bylaw to try and prevent any type of rodent or animals into a property that was eating hens.
I appreciate the detail in the report, and in fact that it encourages, I think, a very clear message to anyone that might be considering an application that they do have to follow some very specific guidelines. And on that note, through some of the research that I've conducted, I've noticed that there are kind of turnkey kits that are available, you know, a coop as well as all the apparatus. Would that be something that maybe through this particular recommendation we could provide as maybe a go-to for prospective applicants?
We can certainly look into that. I know there are companies that do provide I believe the rental kind of kits that come with the coop and the hen. So we can, absolutely look into possibly sharing that information with residents if they are looking, for that type. They are available online. If you Google it, you can find that there's different companies that do provide a kit that would, provide the coop and the hens rental type program.
At least we have a base standard, because again, not to say that some people are not going to end up going to your local lumber store and create something, but I think that aesthetically you'd like to have something that looks a certain way. And some of the coops that I've had a chance to see are actually quite nice, and not to say condo-like, but they do have an appealing look to them. And I think that not to say that we have to implement some further standardization, but maybe just some suggestions to prospective applicants. And thank you very much for your responses.
Mayor Brown, go ahead.
Deputy Mayor McIntosh, if I may just interrupt and advise that we do have someone on the line at this point.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, go ahead with your question, and then we'll take one from the public.
Okay. I just wanted to, following up on Councillor Taylor's concern about the smell, and if someone, I think the bylaw is written, it's very comprehensive. It talks about daily cleaning as a requirement, but what happens if somebody does not, that runs afoul of this bylaw? Right, Councillor Taylor?
That's
you're talking about a 3-year pilot here. So what is an interim bylaw enforcement that can happen? Can you pull license, and for instance, and what are the plans if somebody doesn't adhere to the guidelines here?
Yes, if somebody didn't adhere to the guidelines, of course we try to educate first, but absolutely that we revoked if they were not in compliance with the bylaw.
Okay, great. And I did also want to let everybody know that I did receive some late letters of support here from Mr. H. Sanders, Mrs. Mary Brown, and Mr. F. Leghorn. Okay, done. Deputy Mayor, back to you.
I'm speechless. We do have somebody from the public wishing to ask a question.
Hello, yes, hello.
Hello, go ahead.
Oh, hi, this is Trisha Hebert. I was trying to connect via the Microsoft Teams, and I was trying to answer when I was being called, and I'm so sorry it wasn't working.
No problem,
So I'm on the
Tricia.
phone now.
Yeah, you go right ahead.
All right, thank you so very much. Sorry about the delay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Brown, esteemed council members, and fellow Orangeville residents. My name is Trisha Hebert, and I'd like to start off by saying thank you so very much to Orangeville Council for approving this pilot program. I think it's an incredible opportunity for Orangeville residents and shows the growing need for community members to become more self-sufficient and raise our own food. I am deeply in favor of this great initiative and agree with most of the recommendations and regulations that have been laid out by Council and the town of Orangeville. However, I do have a few minor suggestions that I think could improve this program and make it more accessible to all members of our community. First, I'd like to start off with the number of chickens permitted in the proposed regulations. It is currently set at 2. However, most municipalities that have run successful pilot programs allow up to 4 hens per residence. It is widely known that chickens are a flock animal and they do better in a large social group. They can also huddle together for protection and warmth in the cooler months. The amount of eggs that 2 chickens would produce would not be enough to support a family's monthly intake. For example, my family of 5 eats 2 dozen or more eggs per week, and 2 chickens would only lay 14 eggs weekly, not really enough to justify spending $1,000 or more on the necessary startup supplies. I would like to see the number of chickens per household increase to 4 in order to give the program and the chickens a fair opportunity to be healthy, safe, and happy. The second item that I would like to address is that of the yearly permit fee. Currently, a $110 yearly fee is being proposed in Orangeville to cover the costs of the program. This is much higher than any other municipality and extremely high considering the already high cost of building a proper coop, chicken run, buying feed, supplies, vet bills, and running heat lamps throughout the winter. This makes the program only accessible to the more affluent members of the community, which completely negates the purpose of having a program such as this, to make food more accessible and affordable to all families. Municipalities such as Kitchener, Guelph, Newmarket, Brampton, Niagara Falls, Toronto, and Kingston are just a few notables where the pilot programs have been successful. Many have no yearly fees, while others have only a one-time fee of up to $100, which is collected for the entire duration of the pilot program, which is typically 2 to 3 years. Brampton charges $50 per year for anyone with more than 2 chickens. However, under 3 chickens is free. Alternatively, Guelph did not charge any fees for their program, and after a successful pilot, they now allow up to 10 hens and have approved up to 36,000 free permits. I would like to please suggest that the town consider charging only a one-time fee, $110, or consider dropping their yearly fee to be more reasonable in the $50 range. This will also ensure that people are actually registering their chickens, as a high fee will deter compliance. Finally, I would like to discuss the proposed number of permits being offered for the pilot program. It has been suggested that only 30 permits be issued for the duration of the program. This will be based on a first-come, first-served basis and will not provide an accurate cross-representation of the community. I'd like to please ask that this number be adopted based on the number of interested participants. In closing, I would like to point out that it is my belief that the biggest challenge with having backyard chickens is truly just in the perspectives that people have based on perceived challenges and not fact. It is believed that they will be messy and noisy and attract rodents and disease. But looking at Niagara Falls, for example, who had backyard chickens for over 20 years, in the year 2017, the city only received 10 complaints about chickens, but received over 500 complaints about dogs. Toronto's pilot is over, and though there was great skepticism, they have had remarkable success. These are just 2 examples of how public perception is often not an accurate reflection of reality. I believe that the successful pilot programs that have run in countless communities are exemplary evidence and of its potential for success here in Orangeville. I'd also be very interested in being a part of a mentoring program to assist participants in locating resources in order to be more successful in this endeavor. I'm a firm believer that when we all work together, we make this community better. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of many friends, families, and neighbors that support these wonderful, curious, and kind animals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tricia. You were breaking up a bit there, but the 3 main items you were talking about was the amount of chickens, raising it to 4, the cost, and the fact that only 30 families or households would be allowed to do this. Ms. Cunningham, did you want to comment on any of those?
No, all the options that were provided in the presentation are for council's consideration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Hearing none.
Deputy Mayor McIntosh, I do believe there is another individual on the line.
Go ahead, sir.
What's the code to unmute the phone? I'm just getting a message from somebody who's looking to speak.
Star 6.
Star 6. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
They are muted. They were unmuted and they muted themselves.
I understand that the person that is on the line,
They're good now.
they should be good to proceed now.
Go ahead, caller.
Oh, sorry, I thought someone else was speaking. My apologies. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm Ginny Anderson, and I'm a resident of Orangeville. And I can't say that I've had a lot of time to prepare, but I just wanted to just address the fact that, and I'm sure there's many arguments, pros and cons of the project, but I'm a little worried about property values in relation to, and I know there's, again, arguments both ways, but possibly odor, noise, possibly disease. we do have fine communities in our town, and I just want to make sure they're protected. And I guess part of that is obviously the fine restrictions in the bylaws. But I just wanted to speak to that a little bit.
Go right ahead.
So is there again, and I haven't had a chance to go to get prepared for this, but are there anything, is there anything in the bylaw that asks for neighbors' thoughts or permissions on allowing? Because I think it will affect the property values around the properties. And again, if we're asking to increase the number of chickens, then we're going to increase the level of noise and excrement, etc.
Yes, I believe that is in the bylaw. Ms. Cunningham, can you confirm?
Sure. We have not incorporated anything into our bylaw with respect to neighbor consent.
Okay, and is that something they're doing anywhere in the other municipalities?
Ms. Cunningham?
We know?
2 of the municipalities that we did look at best practices do request that neighboring property owners provide consent.
Okay, sorry, that was breaking up for me.
Go ahead again, Ms. Cunningham.
2 of the municipalities that we had polled do require neighboring property owners to provide consent.
It's so staticky. They do or they do not require?
They do require.
So that's something I would propose be put in the bylaws, just because I really do feel this may affect property values coming forward.
Okay. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having some computer issues. I can't see, but I can still hear.
We can see you.
Okay, good. Those comments, Ms. Anderson, have been noted and will be discussed.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other callers on the line? Hearing none. Are there any other questions from councillors? Again, I can't see you, so you'll have to yell.
Yes, I'd like to speak, Deputy Mayor, so Mayor Brown.
Go ahead, Mayor Brown.
The curious thing for me here is the 3-year pilot. I'm just wondering, should we be backing this up a little bit? Should this be 18 months before we take a harder look at it? And I'm just wondering why 3 years? Ms. Cunningham, will you tell me what the background was there? 3-year pilot?
Perhaps I can
sure.
provide a bit of assistance. We actually anticipate, in terms of the timing, we anticipate council making a decision that would likely result in the implementation, if they decide to proceed with the trial program, coming into effect at the beginning of January 2021. And then when we look at the review of the various bylaws that we have, the schedule that we've established, we figured that an appropriate year to come back and report on the monitoring of the pilot program would be in 2023. So that is why, essentially, that's why the schedule is away. If you were to look at lowering the amount of time of the trial program, we would be reporting back in 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Great news. I can see everybody again. Are there any other questions? Yes, Councillor Peters and then Councillor Post.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Through you, thanks very much to staff for putting this together. It's been on the books, so to speak, a couple of times, and we finally come this far. So very pleased with the efforts there. Sustainable Orangeville is also very pleased with the potential of this to move forward and to to deal with some of the outreach and education and perhaps cost items. The committee is likely to have some volunteers in there to get people on the right track. So to Mayor Brown's question regarding the timeline, I think at least 2 years makes sense, just because you want to get a couple of seasons under your belt. There'd be a bit of a learning curve there, and I think success of the program would depend on a sustained time with the hens. I believe the committee and myself also sort of echo some of Ms. Siebert's comments regarding number and other issues within the bylaw, perhaps fee. But to be honest, getting the program on board is sort of the main driver, and I think the number of applicants could be increased if there was a lot of participation in the program, if it had started to see success after one season, for example. There's nothing stopping us from opening up the number that could potentially be seen in town. So pardon me, just fighting something here, but anyway, overall, I think we're on the right track, even if the bylaw perhaps is a little more restrictive in some areas. I know there's people on both sides of the fence on this, but I think we have to give people a shot. I think, we don't have to consult our neighbors when we get another pet, certainly louder pets or larger pets. We have feral cats, we have outdoor cats, there's lots of potential issues in town, but I don't see chickens being the number one here. So let's trust the citizens to take care of their coops, and if the trial is a failure, then so be it, but I think we owe it to them to give it a shot. We had a presentation from Ms. Hayes last night regarding food security, and this is a great way for families to educate themselves and to lower their food bills and to really shorten the process. Our food does travel quite a bit before it hits our plates. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peters. Councillor Post.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I've also heard a number of comments from residents on both sides of the argument for this particular bylaw. And my question, I've had a couple of residents reach out to me specifically that they have neighbors right now who they know have chickens on their property, who have caused problems or who have been an issue. So I was just wondering, Ms. Cunningham, if you could speak to any resident issues that you've had with chickens before a bylaw, if there's been any issues that have occurred already, and what those issues were, what the neighborhoods look like. Was it just a matter of them not being allowed, or were there some issues with the coops that were existing on properties?
I am aware of a few complaints that we have had with respect to backyard hens in Orangeville. Now, those type of complaints, because right now in our animal control bylaw, chickens are prohibited. Those complaints are directed to the OSPCA because they're a contract service provider who enforce the animal control bylaw, and the hens have always been removed once they've been made aware and they've been followed up.
Thank you, Councillor Post. Are there any other questions from Council? Seeing none, I guess we have do we need a motion to receive all the information?
No, Mr. Deputy Mayor, no, you do not. What I will ask is that if there are no further questions from the public or from members of council, then it would just be turned over back to the mayor to adjourn the public meeting. Thank you.
We shall do that. Mayor Brown.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Taylor, seconded by Deputy Mayor McIntosh. All in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
Take care, folks. Take care.
Thank you.